Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching WION-VOA Co-Production with me, Alison LaGrange. Let's get started. Now, the U.S. Department of Justice is investigating the alleged mishandling of classified documents by both President Joe Biden and his predecessor, Donald Trump. The controversy has raised questions over how these classified documents should be protected. VOA's Veronica Balderas-Iglesias gets you more details in this report.
At the International Spy Museum in Washington, regular citizens get a close look at replicas of classified documents. The top secret, or confidential markings pertain to the perceived damage that would be caused if the information landed in the wrong hands, explains historian Andrew Hammond.
It could be about a secret covert operation. It could be information that's going to inform US foreign policy or the deployment of the American military. It generally always comes back to national security.
Hammond added that in the United States, 18 different intelligence agencies are responsible for collecting, analyzing, and distributing that information. But relatively few people have access to the top secret one and must lock themselves in secure compartmentalized information facilities, or SCIFs.
You don't just do that sitting at your office desk. You go into a SCIF where people can't listen in. So there'll be all different layers of vetting and security.
VOA asked several government agencies to demonstrate how they use the vault-like SCIFs and other methods to keep information secret, but their policies forbid them from sharing that with the public. Classified documents, however, don't always remain in official and highly secured environments. In fact, independent prosecutors are currently investigating why President Joe Biden and his predecessor Donald Trump retained sensitive materials without proper authorization. The situation sheds light on the need to improve the systems for managing classified documents, especially given that presidential administrations change, says Michael Evans, a senior analyst at the non-governmental National Security Archive.
There needs to be a database that includes all of the titles and dates, the subject line, the creator, whatever metadata you want, because then it won't get lost. Or there's much less likely that it could get lost or get taken away somewhere.
At the same time, Evans advocates for more transparency.
The government spends a lot of resources and a lot of time keeping things secret that really don't need to be kept secret. This is a basic component of government oversight, is access to the records that are being created on the public's dime.
Efforts have been made. In 2009, former President Barack Obama signed an executive order to decrease overclassification. Under President Biden, investigation documents about the 9/11 terrorist attacks have been declassified. But the challenge remains, says Evans, to improve and speed up the whole information sharing process. In his view, if done right, it would make the country safer. Veronica Balderas-Iglesias, VOA News, Washington.
Now joining us for more analysis is VOA correspondent Jessica Stone. She's live at the White House. Hello to you, Jessica. Now this week, former Vice President Mike Pence became the latest leader to reveal that he still had classified documents from his time in office. Will there be another special counsel investigation?
It's a very good question, Allison. We don't have the answer yet on whether a special counsel will be appointed in the case of the Pence documents, which were turned over to the Justice Department, we understand, on January 19th. As soon as they were located, according to Pence's lawyers, they were put in a safe and then notified the FBI to come get them. About 12 classified documents found in all, and many of them, we understand, were found in binders to prepare the vice president for foreign trips. And in some reporting, they even were difficult to locate unless you looked through each page of those binders. So this goes to the process, really, of removing classified documents, of handling classified documents, particularly when a leader leaves. Of course, Vice President Pence did criticize the handling of classified documents in the case of former President Donald Trump when his classified documents were finally located in that FBI raid at Mar-a-Lago last year. But keep in mind, that was 300 classified documents, not 12, not 10, not 7, that were repeatedly refused by the former president to be turned over. And you may recall that in the case of both President Biden and former Vice President Pence, they immediately turned over their documents as soon as they were located. Allison.
Right, Jessica, the U.S. Central Bank meets again next week to decide whether to continue raising interest rates. How does that play into the discussion in Washington around raising the nation's borrowing limit?
Yeah, it's a very lively discussion, and so far the White House is maintaining that it will not negotiate over the debt ceiling. But in either case, whether it's the raising of interest rates by the Federal Reserve, which is the United States Central Bank, or a possible not raising the debt ceiling by the U.S. Congress, it does affect the direction and the health of the U.S. economy. Certainly, if we were to not raise the debt ceiling, which is essentially our ability to borrow to pay debts that we've already either incurred or promised to incur, we could default. The country could default on its debt, and that makes it a very poor investment. It certainly affects the credit rating of the United States. These are things that can all lead to recession. In the case of raising the interest rates, and we are hearing from analysts that they anticipate the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates next week by 0.25 point. That's the same that they did last time. It is less than they did late last year. If they get the calibration wrong of how much they raise interest rates, that also can have an impact and send us into recession. We are already seeing the impacts of a slowing economy here in the United States with those tech layoffs. The most recent was Spotify earlier this week, because the tech sector has been very heavily reliant on cheap borrowing costs, and borrowing costs are clearly going up with these interest rate hikes. One bright spot that we got this week, though, Allison, and that is this. On Thursday, we got the fourth quarter gross domestic product information from the U.S. economy. We came out at 2.9% growth in the fourth quarter of 2022, and that is faster than analysts anticipated. Analysts say that is the best position the United States can be going into these important decisions.
Right. Jessica, stay with us while we take a look at our next story. Now, you're a woman. It is a working day. You get up in the morning and decide what to wear before you head to your workplace. But if you're in Afghanistan, you don't have these simple choices available. Since taking over power in August of 2021, the Taliban government has been issuing decree after decree, from a ban on women's employment and education to now forbidding women from traveling without a male relative. The Taliban's rule has been a regressive tale of anti-women measures. Listen in to VOA's Nazar al-Islam, who gets you the ground details from Kabul, narrated by Aisha Khalid.
1 year ago, 19-year-old Shiba Faisal had no idea that she would be forced to stay at home and no longer attend school. The Taliban, which rose to power in August of 2021, placed a ban on girls' education. Faisal was in the 12th grade.
I wanted to become a doctor so that people of my country wouldn't be forced to go abroad for treatment. But unfortunately, that dream, for now, remains just a dream that is headed for destruction, because now we can't go to school.
Her older sister Nilufar Faisal worked in the management sector for a private company. Now she is also being forced to stay at home.
Life without a job is very painful, especially when you are supporting yourself as a student and your family. I'm in very bad condition, like a walking dead person.
The Taliban has ordered women like the Faisal sisters working in many institutions to stay at home. The Taliban say they support girls' education and that they will soon clarify their position on the matter and reopen the girls' schools.
The issue of girls' education is being worked on. We want a solution that is acceptable to all. We are making efforts in this regard, and it will be done soon.
However, Shiba Faisal is not ready to believe the Taliban's claims.
I think these people will always make some excuse and deceive us. I don't think our schools will open.
Despite not attending school, Shiba Faisal keeps herself busy. She has turned to poetry and says many of her friends have started to stay active by doing things like carpet weaving, sewing, embroidery, and handicrafts, biding time and hoping one day they will be able to resume their studies and pursue their dreams. For Nazar al-Islam in Kabul, Afghanistan, Bejan Hamdard, VOA News.
Now, VOA's Jessica Stone is still with us from the White House. Hi, Jessica. Now, the U.S. has rolled out a new program to help Afghan refugees to gain citizenship in the United States. Take us through the details.
Well, this is a new program that actually moves some of the process from resettlement agencies to individuals. It allows groups of 5 Americans to raise a little bit over $2,200 per refugee and sponsor a refugee who's already been approved for resettlement to be permanently resettled in the United States. They also anticipate that this program will allow Americans to sponsor those overseas to come to the United States. As I said, this is an alternative to resettlement agencies who have really been the backbone of the U.S. process to resettle not only the Afghans but also the Ukrainian refugees who have been coming to the United States. Those agencies will still remain a resource for Americans seeking to take advantage of this program. Washington is hoping to use this program essentially to find 10,000 more sponsors to sponsor 5,000 more refugees this year.
Right now, on Monday, the new Republican chair of the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability is expected to call again for a congressional inquiry into the chaotic U.S. military withdrawal from Afghanistan in the summer of 2021. What are we expecting here?
Yeah, this is a big focus of not only the House Oversight Committee, but also the House Foreign Relations Committee. So we expect to hear on Monday from House Oversight Chairman James Comer calling for that investigation into the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. But also an investigation is expected to be launched from the House Foreign Relations Committee. We know that Congressman Mike McCall has been asking since that withdrawal for documents and information related to what the government knew, why it did not anticipate the fall of the Taliban as quickly as it occurred. And he has been essentially stonewalled by the government, not getting any of that information he's seeking. He knows that this is an issue that's very important to American veterans. And of course, American veterans vote. And so for many of the folks in Congress, particularly Republicans who may have served themselves or who have a lot of constituents in their districts who are veterans, they will pursue this process this year. And that means, of course, that it's not only an election issue for them, but potentially for the 2024 presidential election and President Biden. Allison?
Jessica, thank you very much. Great to speak to you.